Every Halloween, we're used to seeing skeletons and zombies walking around the streets, collecting candy, and occasionally egging a house. But do animated skeletons and other walking dead ever truly tread the earth? Were there ever really real necromancers raising the dead, forming undead armies to overrun the earth in history, just like in all the fantasy fiction? Well, a few fascinating tales from history do come close, true to the folklore and just possibly true examples of necromancers. Let's examine this real folklore of necromancy in history. First, Pan Twardowski was a 16th century Polish nobleman with a fascination for the dark arts. Attracted to alchemy and the famous grimoires of black magic that existed at the time, he is reported to have made a pact with the devil. Much like the more famous but less historical Faust, who we all know about, he ended up trading his soul in exchange for supernatural powers. Cleverly, though, Twardowski inserted a little clause and condition into his contract with the devil. You see, the Prince of Darkness could only claim Twardowski's soul if he happened to visit Rome, a city he vowed never to enter. With this safeguard in place, Twardowski, no doubt, believed that he had outwitted the devil. Granted phenomenal supernatural powers as a result of this deal, he became renowned for his magical abilities, rumored to be capable of summoning spirits and raising the dead via his powers of necromancy. One of the most enduring stories tied to him involves King Sigismund II Augustus, who grieved deeply for his deceased wife, Barbara Radziwill. Seeking solace on the darkest hour of his grief, the king turned to Twardowski for help, knowing of his growing reputation as a necromancer. Legend has it that Twardowski used his dark arts to summon Barbara's spirit, allowing the king a brief reunion with his beloved. While the enchanting tale of Twardowski captivates, how real is it? Well, it's true the tale of Twardowski is thought to have been embellished by several authors, being one of the favorite figures of Polish folk tales. However, many believe the name Twardowski was a name given to him in Polish to talk about the original, genuine, and documented historical figure named Laurentius Dur. He was a real person, documented as a 16th century astrologer and alchemist who operated in what is now Poland and Lithuania. Like many learned men of his era, he delved into various esoteric studies, including astrology, alchemy, and magic, all considered quite normal and not especially unusual areas of intellectual pursuit for a nobleman of the time. Dur was, in fact, verifiably connected to the Polish royal court. It is believed that he had ties to King Sigismund II Augustus, who himself was known to have an interest in both alchemy and the occult. Dur's scholarly pursuits and potential interactions with the king provides us with true historical roots for Twardowski. As the legend of Twardowski unfolds to its conclusion, however, some of the more fantastical and folkloric additions and embellishments to the tale seem to shine through. You see, Twardowski's cleverness eventually led to his downfall. While traveling, he unwittingly stopped at an inn named Rome. The devil, finding this little loophole in their agreement, was quick to seize upon that mistake and lost no time to claim Twardowski's soul. In a desperate moment, Twardowski called upon the Mother of God, Mary, however, and in a miraculous twist was whisked away to the moon on the back of a giant rooster, escaping eternal damnation. Yes, you heard that right, a giant rooster. Quite the exit. It is said Twardowski is still up there, in fact, presumably with his rooster. Today, the tale of Pan Twardowski continues to thrive across Poland, becoming one of their most beloved cultural symbols. particularly in Bydgoszcz, where a mechanical figure of him emerges from a clock at a specific time every day, laughing ominously at passers-by. Although the historical truth behind Twardowski remains elusive, he does stand as one of Poland's most enduring folkloric figures. So, necromancers in history? There are a few. But aristocrats, nobles, seems it was a gentleman's pursuit back in the day. I suppose only they could afford to provide accommodation for an army of the living dead. Not a pastime for the spaceport, to be sure. Relatively genteel and good-looking raisers of corpses. But how about that second image of the necromancer we all know from the RPGs and the fantasy fiction novels? That is, the skeletal, terrifying Lich Lord. The very term evokes the unsettling notion of a being that has transcended death, often portrayed in fantasy as a skeletal figure draped in tattered robes, wielding dark magic and commanding legions of the undead. This creature draws its roots from the Old English word lich, simply meaning corpse. However, the concept of the Lich with the phylactery box that was said to store his soul, the only way to defeat him is by finding it and destroying it, that story is only perfectly reflected in one place. That being the ancient Slavic tale of Koschei the Deathless, a formidable figure in folklore known for his mastery over life and death and his necromancy. Koschei is often depicted as a skeletal being representing death itself. His most notorious power lies in his ability to cheat mortality. He cannot be killed as long as his soul remains hidden. This soul, or heart, is often concealed within a series of enchanted objects, such as a needle locked inside an egg, hidden in a duck, which is kept in a hare, itself buried beneath a tree on a remote island. Talk about safeguards. Good luck finding it. In the tales of Koschei, he is frequently portrayed as a malevolent figure, predictably, who captures beautiful maidens and engages in battles with heroic protagonists. His dark magic enables him to animate the dead, control spirits, and invoke powerful curses. This mastery over necromancy makes him a formidable adversary, feared by all who encounter him. So, Koschei, the old Slavic Lich Lord, is the inspiration for all modern liches of fantasy, including the most recent incarnation, Voldemort, with his Horcruxes, which contain his soul and the key to his destruction, sound familiar. But was Koschei ever real? Well, the folklore is passed down in Eastern Europe and has been for many centuries back into the mists of time, as chronicled by the famous folklorist of Eastern Europe, Alexander Afanasiev. And the character himself of Koschei was often thought to be a resurrection of an older pagan god of the Slavs named Velez, the god of the underworld who was thought to rule over the dead and to be a sorcerer without equal. Certainly seems to share his portfolio. And so, if you believe, as some of us do, that centuries of worship and belief lend some life and reality to the gods and the creatures of folklore, then you could say that Koschei exists, in a sense. So there you have it, necromancers of history and folklore. Turns out they aren't all entirely based on fiction, though some of the more fantastical folklore tales could certainly be considered, just possibly, to be more fictional than truth. It just might make you look twice, and just a little more closely, perhaps, next time you see a suspiciously realistic Halloween decoration peeking out from behind the iron bars of your local cemetery. And that guy dressed up like a necromancer at the Halloween party? Yeah, you just might want to stop and think before you offer him a drink to raise his spirits. You just might end up having the most realistic Halloween decor in town. Well, that just about wraps up tonight's tale from Lorehound. Join us as we sniff out more of history's most interesting stories.
As the hound dog entered the dimly lit library, He sensed an aura of mystery surrounding the ancient scrolls. The dusty shelves towered above him as he sniffed his way through the labyrinth of books. Suddenly, he picked up a scent and followed it to a secluded corner. With bated breath, he approached the shelf and pawed at the book, revealing the hidden scroll. As he rolled it out, he knew he had discovered a treasure worth protecting at all costs.